Oh, he had the low jab. That could have went into Ultra.
Lots more challenges.
Oh, he missed the sweep.
No!
Missed the headbutt.
Oh, he's in trouble. He's in trouble! Ryan Hart's gonna take it! Final round 17. He got second last year. This time it's first place.
Ryan Hart all the way from the United Kingdom. There you see her.
It's gonna be a 3 out of 5 set.
Got retractable claws, basically.
talk
This
about
is important stuff, man. This is important stuff. And look at this pressure right here.
Oh, that's what her block animation looks like. There's Stand Fierce.
Yep.
Oh, she has a target chain.
Roundhouse.
Fierce Roundhouse is a chain.
And remember, she's a charged character. Yeah, I think it's going to be...
When we...
Oh, no.
Oh, that's going to be that. Yeah.
There it is, into the super.
What up, homies? It's BornFree here. This is a very long video, so if you are short on time, use the timestamps to get to specific questions or topics that you're interested in. They are in the description below, also in the pinned tweet for mobile users. There are also podcast options, which I will be expanding in the future, but you can find those in the description if that's your style. Big thank you to our Street Fighter and everybody who supported me in regards to sending me to EVO. Remember, all of these interviews were recorded just before or during EVO, so you understand the context of the timing, because I know a lot of shit has happened at EVO and post EVO. I'm also using new equipment. I was experimenting around from interview to interview, so with various things, whether it be settings and the camera, lighting, sound, and general setup. Some of it I'm happy with, some of it I'm a bit like, but it is what it is. And that's it. Please enjoy. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's BornFree here, care of our Street Fighter. It is Thursday at EVO, pre-EVO. I'm here with Ryan Hart. How the hell are you?
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
It's late. It's actually pretty late. It's 11 p.m.
That's cool. I'm in this hotel. I'm on the other floor. I ain't got far to go.
What were you were playing today, right?
Well, I played in the Toshinsai qualifier for this finals they've got going on next year. You get flown out to Japan and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was my little warm up that I had today. That didn't go that well. I think we lost that second round or something. But it was one game singular limb.
It was?
Yeah, it was a good laugh. I'm glad I entered. Just a bit of a early morning ruckus. 3v3 was great. I mean, I think in general it's just good to see what kind of level everyone's on as well. See what everyone else is bringing to the table. So no, fun times.
So that was in Street Fighter 5?
That's Street Fighter 5, yeah.
Okay, who are you playing in Street Fighter 5 these days?
Well, when I get time to, I'm playing Urian.
You are, right?
Mainly playing Urian,
okay.
yeah. A little bit of Sagat, a little bit of a couple of other characters, but yeah, mainly Urian.
How does Sagat feel to you?
Stiff.
Because obviously, for newbie, I want to say newbies, but for there's not 09ers and then there's 15ers or 16ers.
For the newer people to the
For
scene.
anyone who didn't watch Street Fighter 4, Ryan was one of the best Sagats in the world, and Ryu's as well, actually. Yeah. I would say those two. Yeah. But yeah, how does he feel?
He's a bit clunky. He's a little bit. I mean, it's also due to the game design. I think Sagat suffers in a lot of defensive areas just because of how the game's put together. He does have his fun elements. Obviously, he does have his zoning. Back in there, he can keep people out to a degree. But long range, he can utilize that. In that mid-range, he doesn't really have too much going on where you can really feel confident in your game plan.
Okay.
Tiger Knee isn't the same as what it used to be. The pokes don't quite have the range. So, in one sense, he's Sagat. He's this big, tall Thai boxer with tiger shots and stuff. And he has a good anti-air. He has, for SF5, he has great tools up close because he has a good anti-air. He has an invincible EX. He does have a lot of buttons he can use to go into B-Trigger 2 and confirm and get a combo and then perhaps a setup. But yeah, I feel like at the mid-range, you can't really control people the way that you could before.
Okay. Spacing
Tiger Knees, dashing in and making mix-ups from there because the dash is really slow and any good player is going to check the dash. So yeah, and then the biggest weakness is once he does get knocked down, although he has a reversal, you know, it's been proven that just having a reversal isn't enough. You know, in this game. So yeah, he does suffer once he's on his back, unfortunately. But then there are just certain characters that just have moves that kind of just allow them to just rush him down. You know, like Boxer's a super hard matchup for Sagat. Bison is a really hard matchup for Sagat. You know, there are just certain characters, their generic playstyle just kind of runs over Sagat. But yeah, I mean, I put a lot of time into Sagat when he was first released, you know, when he came up with G. I don't know what he looks like today because I haven't played Sagat for a while, so maybe Sagats that are still playing him now might have a different opinion. It'll be interesting to see what they think. But yeah, from what I've experienced, that's kind of how it is. I mean, he's not unusable. You know, it's not like he can't win any matches. You know, we've seen Bonchan do some amazing stuff with him already in tournaments. But yeah, I do feel that he could do with a few buffs and wouldn't be too bad. I think they've played it way too safe with Sagat on this version.
Yeah, that's happened with a lot of characters. Anyway, so I want to talk. There's so much with you. There's so much to talk about.
It's a long time coming, this one, isn't it?
Yeah, but there's just so much. Like, so I feel like, you know, maybe this will be part of, and we'll do another one and whatever, right? Because like, it's just too much. You know, like there's a Wikipedia page on Ryan, so if you want to go visit it. We'll cover some of it, but not all of it. We'll talk about your history. Okay. You know, there's so much to cover that I'm going to start with some random questions, and then I think we'll go into the history, and we'll see where we get to. Basically, first I just want to talk about what's literally going on right now, which is Evo, right?
Yes.
So you're here commentating and playing. So what's going on? What are you playing, and what are you commentating?
I've entered Mortal Kombat 11, Samurai Showdown, Tekken 7, and SF5.
Okay.
And I'm commentating Tekken 7 and Samurai Showdown Top 8.
Right, because you were commentating Tekken 7 at the World Finals, right?
Yeah, so I've been doing, I mean, what happened with the Tekken commentary now was 2 years ago, an event called Damage Germany that, you know, a good friend of mine puts on in Germany. He's been doing it since, I think, 2010 was the first one, and then he's brought it back sporadically over the years. And, you know, he had one in 2018 where he kind of revamped it, invited me from Korea and you know, put on this massive spectacle. But he didn't have anyone to talk about the game. He didn't have any commentators. So I volunteered, and you know, he got me in to do it, and I did like 18 hours of commentary over the 2 days.
That's wild.
Yeah, I just wanted to help him out because he had no one to do it, you know? So I thought, okay, it's whatever. I'm going to come down. You know, it's like an hour and a half from my house. It's not that far. I'll just go down, help him out. But yeah, people liked it, so I got like offers to do TWT events, and
that's great.
Yeah, I did like Berlin Tekken Clash. That was my first. I think it was like a challenger event, and then I got invited to do the finals. And then that whole thing with me and Rip happened, and
I saw the beginnings of that. I don't think I saw the end of it. So you did it because you took. Okay, so I mean, I guess probably people would have seen it, or you might not have seen it. But you guys were commentating on a desk of like 4 people at Tekken World Tour Finals, and then you kind of got into it about who was the better player, and then a challenge was laid down, and then I believe you guys actually did the exhibition. We did the
challenge eventually, yeah.
So what happened in the exhibition?
In the exhibition I won 10-3.
I love Rip. I interviewed Rip as well.
He's great. I mean, we've always got on. We've always got on. We've never had any problems whatsoever. I mean, I think the one time we actually have spent some time together in LA, it was during an E3 once. Yeah. And we literally went for Japanese food with a couple of other people, and we actually have had beef.
Yeah.
Before. Oh. We've literally had beef together.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rip's a great guy, and you know, I think for what it's worth, you know, that moment that happened really fueled the scene.
It was fun.
With great energy.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
So I think it was a really fun piece, and so we had the match and everything. But then after that, you know, I got invited to do you know, Tekken World Tour Master event. Did the mix up in Lyon earlier this year. I did Versus Fighting that just happened. You know, I did Fighting Games Challenge in Poland. Wow. So yeah, 3 master events back to back. You know, I feel really grateful that I've been given the opportunity.
And you work at ESL, right?
And I work at ESL full time. Yeah.
So you work at ESL full time. Then you're doing commentary, and occasionally, so playing is sort of comes third.
Playing is definitely sort of like it's taken a backseat under those two. But and then, of course, you know, like family life as well. So.
Family life, right. So you're married, you live in Germany, expat, or I don't know if you have citizenship or not, but you used to live in England, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you grew up. You were born
and bred in London.
Born and bred in London.
Yeah.
Your wife is pregnant at the moment. Is that right? Congratulations.
Thank you. So, how did you know?
We just.
Oh, I was talking to them. Oh, yeah. Okay. Eavesdropping. Yeah. So my wife is pregnant at the moment. So kid on the way. So that's obviously life's going to change a lot with that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in general, I know that like gaming can't be given the same priority right now because I have so much else going on.
Sure.
I mean the playing side of it, the 10-hour a day grinding.
Yeah. It's not. It doesn't. It's not the same. It's not going to have this. It's also not going to have the same return because you don't know. There's no guarantees. But
there was never any guarantees. It's always a question of if you give it the time, there will be. I mean, the one thing with gaming is hard work never lies. If you put in the hours, you get a return. It's not a casino. There is a guarantee return if you put in the work.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit then. I mean, what I was referring to was there's a paycheck attached to the other two. The ESL and the commentary. Oh,
in that sense, right?
Yeah, in that sense. I didn't mean like in
but honestly,
victory.
Yeah, but honestly, like if you're good enough, then you will get a sponsorship. But even if you don't get a sponsorship, you will be able to represent yourself to a level in tournament where you can make money.
Well, let's talk about that because we talked a little bit about that, and we were saying that you sort of pioneered the idea of a sponsorship back in the day, right? Or something similar to that.
I mean, so very, very early days, 1995, 96. I think initially I was offered a one-day travel, a monthly travel card, a sandwich, and free credits at the arcade, and that was your probably very first ever tiniest per diem package ever. Who
offered you that?
The arcade, Namco. It was the arcade was a official Namco.
Oh, okay.
So and they wanted
you to play.
And they worked out that if I play people, the arcade makes money quicker because I beat people quicker than the CPU does.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
that's amazing.
If a person plays a CPU, they'll get to stage 5 or 6 before they lose.
Yeah.
But if they play me, they'll lose straight away and put more money back in. So it became a faster return for the arcade.
Wait, so they figured that out, or you went to them with a proposal?
No, I didn't have any business ideas of my own. They just came up to me and said, "Hey, do you want to do this for us? We'll make this happen for you."
That's kind of smart. Whoever came up with that. I mean, like it's ruthless as hell.
Well,
but
it was a thing of because it's an arcade, so you've got staff pacing up and down the arcade all day, right, helping people out, making sure.
Was this at Trocadero?
No, this was across the road from Trocadero, Great Wilmore Street. It's just
okay.
it's literally like 2 minutes across the road.
Okay.
Trocadero wasn't as popular then in the arcades because. I mean, it was popular for families, but it wasn't your hardcore place.
No, you're right. It wasn't too hardcore. But there was Street Fighter, but
it had all the games. But everyone went to Wonder Park because that was where the hardcore games.
Okay.
were. Yeah. So staff noticed that I was always on the machine.
Yeah.
This guy with the Nike jacket, he's always playing, and that became a conversation. So yeah, after a while they were like, "Hey, do you want to do this a bit more? If you come down more often, we can make this happen for you." I think it was the. Back then, we didn't have a label for it. Now you'd probably call it a community manager. But that guy for Namco used to visit the arcade maybe once a week. He was a bit of a player himself. And he approached me with this offer. Like, in the beginning, I think he took me to dinner every night. He came down every day. Yeah. Come down about 6 o'clock, watch me play for half an hour, take me to dinner, come back, watch me for half an hour again, then he'd leave. And then the next day he'd do the same thing. So that was my daily meal, basically.
What an extraordinary story.
It was insane. So then after that, he got in touch with Logitech. And Logitech became my first ever actual sponsor. And I was like 17 or something.
But what were they getting out of it, Logitech?
They got me to wear their merchandise. They got me to wear their hats, their t-shirts, and so...
But where was it being seen?
Exactly. Because we didn't have like YouTube and things like that and streaming, there was like not a lot of visibility. But that was just the model they recognized from sports, right? They all wear the logos on their jerseys and stuff. Yeah. So they just wanted to replicate that in gaming.
Okay.
They didn't have anywhere to show it, really. But
they just wanted to be like, you can be as good as this guy if you wear Logitech.
Well, I mean, it was funny because, it was all arcades then. Nothing was on PC. But I was wearing all these PC peripheral company jackets and t-shirts and stuff. So, that was what they did. But, it would be a thing where people come down and I'm wearing a Logitech hat and it's like they just associate Ryan with Logitech. That just became a thing. And that was way back when Logitech were really, like, at least from my understanding, they were fairly new then.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had Logitech mice, and I had Logitech keyboards, but I had no PC. Just had all the parts. So that was that. And then my first trip abroad was to, I think the very first ever trip was to France. And then after that I went to Japan, and that's when I won my first World Championship when I was 18. But it was really tough in Japan because I didn't speak any Japanese then.
There's so much to unpack here, right? So
wild ride.
So first of all,
but that was the very start of international travel with sponsorship.
Right. So first of all, I just want, because here's the thing, right? Because you're English, and I can say this as an Englishman, because you're English, you go under the radar a bit, I think. I mean, not to the FGC, but like
even in the FGC, there's
even in the FGC,
yeah.
Because like America's America, and they got they know who their top players are, and then Japan, they know who their top players are, and then they even had the Japan, back in '98 or whatever, had the VIA and Daigo thing and all that sort of stuff, and then sort of Europe is like, where's Europe? And then England and you are a bit under the radar, but when you go and look at all of your achievements, you've got like 4 Guinness World Records and all this stuff, right? And like when people have conversations about the best multi-game players, you should be in those conversations.
I've been told that I don't talk enough about it.
Really?
Yeah, I had a conversation with Red Eye. He was saying people don't know about you because you don't say anything, but I just feel like if you start talking about it, it's a bit arrogant. Like, why would I?
No, I know, that's a very English.
How do you introduce that? Hello, my name is Ryan Hart. I've got 4 Guinness. Like, it's just not the conversation.
It's a very English thing. But
so maybe I'm just not aware of this being an obvious thing I'm supposed to do. But when am I supposed to elaborate on these
it's
accolades?
Self-branding, man. Like it's just nowadays it's a thing. Back then, maybe not so much, but like that back then, I just think it was a case of you being in England. Like being English, being in England, that's it. End of story. Like it's just not a big enough story. You know, if you're American and you win something, it's huge. It's a big deal. If you're English, no one cares. And what's interesting to me is you went to Japan when you were 18 and you beat the Japanese on Japanese soil playing KOF, which is a legit game which they play. And no disrespect to anybody because I think anybody who gets to travel to Japan and play at high level is obviously very, very strong. But I don't think anyone was doing that.
I wasn't in a good situation when I went to Japan. I was, a lot of people don't know this, but at the time I was completely homeless. I didn't have anywhere to live. I was on the streets, and I used to just kind of pretend that life was okay when I went to the arcade to put on a smile. And when the arcade would close, everyone would congregate outside the arcade because it was fun to just talk, and I always sort of scuttled the other direction because I didn't want to engage in anything where I'd have to talk about my private life, because you get into these conversations, it's like, oh, okay, we're going to this bus stop, how are you getting back around, which way do you need to go, and it's like, where do you live, and then you get into these situations, so and then you go to the bus stop with them, it's like, what bus are you getting?
Hold up, you're blowing my mind every so slow down. Slow down. So like when you were 18, you were homeless
for a period, yeah.
Why? Sorry, I don't want to.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I mean, a lot happened during that time.
Did you? Parents in the picture?
Well, I never knew my dad.
Okay.
So it was just my mom.
Okay.
But yeah, there was definitely a situation where that's very difficult to sort of amplify in this interview, but there was a situation where I just ended up not having anywhere to live for a period.
Okay.
Gaming was my sanctuary. That was the only thing really that was giving me happiness and getting me outside of, when I was playing games, I could forget everything else. Everything was alright for a bit, Chris
G, when I spoke to Chris G, he said a similar sort of thing. We never actually got into what went on with him in his childhood, but it was the same thing for him. And he's a multi-game player. He would just move from one game to another.
So because I spent a lot of time at the arcade, I did used to experiment. Oh, let me try this game, Tekken. Let's see what that's about. Oh, what Virtua Fire? Oh, okay, King of Fires. Oh, what Street Fighter Alpha 2? Okay. So you just got involved in all these different little communities that supported each game. I never planned to be a multi-game champion. It just, they've announced this tournament, I'm going to do my best. I mean, the trip to Japan, I trust me, as a teenager, as an avid gamer, as a teenager, it was my ultimate dream to go to Japan and play fighting games because that's where they were made, But because I knew I would never be able to afford it. I was so poor then. Like I just thought, this tournament that they're having is my one chance, you know. And I randomly rocked up to the arcade, and they had a massive yellow billboard that said, "Win free trip to Japan." I remember it, it's clear as day. And I thought, how? You know what? You didn't have the game on it. It just said, "Win trip to Japan." So I need to find out more. How do I do this? And yeah, I asked the staff, and they took me to this cabinet, and it showed me more details, and it said, you know, win a tournament on this game coming up in the weekend, and you can win a flight to Japan to go to represent UK in the World Finals. And it was Air Guides, you know, it's a crossover 3D top-down game, one-on-one fighting game with Namco, before it was banned on Namco, and back in the days when it was Squaresoft, not Square Enix. You know, and that was their collab, and they had a bunch of Final Fantasy DLC characters, you know. So I actually ended up using Cloud. That was my main character. And got to the finals randomly, managed to win. It was best of, like, I think it was best of one, you know, 3 rounds, and it was just one game, and I ended up winning last game, last round, and went to Japan and, you know, fulfilled my dream. And that was the first time I realized that in this life, dreams can come true. That at that time, as a 18-year-old, you know, teenager,
that's wild. Like, how did you...
So I went to Japan and got completely creamed on that game, but then I won the World Championship at Tokyo Game Show that same year because it was just on while I was there. So I had no plans to enter that King of Fighters thing that I went there when I went there.
But why were you at their level? That's what I don't get.
I was always good at King of Fighters, but I didn't. You
can be good in the UK arcade. But we're talking about like these so-called legendary Japanese arcades.
I think with King of Fighters, I think it's more a situation where they didn't know how good we are in the UK. Like, because of reasons like you say, we slipped under the radar. People weren't aware. There wasn't YouTube to load up matches with the best UK players. We were really good, and we're not new to King of Fighters. We've all been playing since '94.
Okay.
And there were people that I can't beat. At '94. There were players so there were even like...
There were people in the UK who are better than you.
Yeah, there were people at like 94, 95 that were better than me. And, you know, so I didn't... It was hard to feel confident as well when there's so many other players that are better than you on a certain game.
Yeah.
And especially without the exposure of, you know, other communities and stuff like that. I don't know if this is what's supposed to be done in this situation with this character. I don't know if I'm doing the best thing. Is this the most optimal combo? How do I... You know, it's hard to be confident. But what I will say is, as the iterations progressed, I did start to... The hunger grew stronger. I wanted to be better.
Yeah.
I think when I was a bit complacent on 94 and 95, I thought, okay, I'm just okay, that's fine. But then when 96 came out, I got really hungry. I lost in a really bad way in the King of Fighters 95 tournament.
Okay.
Then when 96 came out, before it came out, I said, when 96 comes out, I'm going all the way.
Okay.
And after college, I would go to the arcade, play. It was an arcade in the market, Surrey Street Market in Croydon. And I would always go to the arcade and practice. And it wasn't just practicing combos anymore. It was already strategizing for tournament. Already.
It was.
You know, putting 2 credits in, blocking with my right hand and executing a projectile with my left hand, then trying to do a super to see if that super goes through fireballs. And because it didn't have training mode or anything.
So you were breaking it down.
So you had to know based on what you could work out with 2 credits.
I got to ask, why were you taking these games so seriously at that time? Because like, what makes a person want to break that stuff down? What makes a person want to be that good?
When I lost the King of Fighters 95 tournament, I thought I was really good before the tournament.
Yeah.
And that loss affected me. That reality check is what kicked me into a different gear, because I realized, okay, it's going to take... Whatever I've been doing up till now, even though I thought it was enough, it's not enough. I've got to create a way to learn more and faster, quicker than everyone else.
Yeah.
It has to be that way. Now, King of Fighters 95, I started late as well. So considering that, putting that into perspective, means that I probably did okay for the length of time I've been playing. But I thought, you know, I just wanted to do better. You know, I wanted to do better than I'd done. So yeah, I played really, really hard. I tried multitude of characters, and eventually I started generating results. It wasn't, you don't know, that's the thing, it's like any business venture. You don't know if it's going to work out, but you know what you want it to be like, and you just go with that. And when it starts working out, you continue that, and by your experience in there, you know what you need to do to make it better in the future, and you just keep growing it. And the fire fuels that. You know, that burning passion, that desire, that fuels what comes out of your progress.
Did you ever feel... So this is going to sound like a really weird question, but I've been having a lot of weird psychic destiny type things going on around me. Like, did any of it feel like this is what I'm supposed to be doing?
That never kicked in. I think.
Or did you always feel like anxious, like I'm doing the wrong thing?
No. I mean, there was an enjoyment level. There was an enjoyment level that was high enough that it didn't matter if that was what you're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
Because it's that good, it's okay. Even if later on you don't do that anymore.
Okay.
Looking back though, if I hadn't have been successful, I wouldn't have continued. That's the truth.
Okay.
So because a lot. I remember in the past I've often said no, but I was passionate. I would have done it anyway. But success definitely supported how much I enjoyed it. I think if I had infinitely lost every tournament, everything I ever entered, never winning in the arcades, it would get boring. Even if I like the content of the game.
Yeah.
You need you have to get something back eventually.
Yeah, for the work. Well,
Yeah,
you were working. I mean, you were you're talking about putting 2 coins in and figuring things out.
It gets worse, man.
That's work.
Putting your big toe on the second controller, on the second D-pad on the SNES controller so you can work out tactics on Street Fighter 2, that's hardcore, man. But there was no training mode. I mean, people got it easy now.
I know.
Training mode, they got like all kinds of stuff. You could just sit at home and get competition.
Well,
you had to go out somewhere to get competition back in the day. You had to go to the arcade. You had to get to a public environment when you're rubbish at the game. Like, it's so embarrassing. You get waxed and sent to the back of the queue like you don't matter. Like, it's hard to, because as a person that's not that confident, if someone wants to learn a game, it's hard to accept that you've got to go into this public environment and just get blown up for ages until you've and you've got to spend money for that as well. You line up in the queue, spend your money, and get battered back to the back of the queue again. Like, that's demoralizing, I can see why that model doesn't work for some people. That model of building a top player, it's not going to be everyone's cup of tea, just because it's so hard to accept that kind of loss repetitively.
It's funny, when you go on, when you see people's streams, you can spot sometimes because of age, but like you can spot the people who grew up in the arcade.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When they hit training mode, they test a bunch of stuff. Within 1 minute, they've tested like 100 things.
Yeah. You know, when a game comes out, you know exactly what you're looking for. If you pick a certain character, if you just look at the character's command list, you know what kind of character this is, just because of how their moves operate.
Yeah.
This person is supposed to fight like this.
Right.
So there's a lot of cues in how characters are designed to see what the developer's creative vision was behind the character. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of crossover. You have to imagine, if you're a game dev and you want to enter the fighting game community, of course you're going to look at what games are out.
Yeah.
You're going to look at what the current trends are, what's popular. You're going to model your characters from something that's already existing, or with an inspiration from something that's already existing, all the time. So you're going to find similarities, and also you want to look at how accessible your game is. So you're going to make your commands similar to a game with commands like that.
Oh, I agree.
So that everyone can get into.
Well, that's why
game.
FPS games are FPS games are the same way. It's like you kind of have to do that because you have to allow people to be able to. If I can play this, I can play this, I can play this, I can play this. It's good for everyone, That's wild. So the World Championship in Japan. So how did that come about? So you did the other tournament, and then
the funny thing with that is the Japan trip. If honestly, was only meant to be 3 days. It was you fly out on Thursday. You arrive on Friday morning or something, and then the tournament was on Saturday. And then you leave on Sunday. It was meant to be this really, quick trip.
Was it a single elim thing?
It was a single elim tournament, yeah.
It was?
It was a single elim tournament.
Oh, God.
And the grand finals was 2 out of 3. And I remember it was 2 out of 3 because when I won the first game, I thought I'd won. And he goes, no, sit back down. The grand finals was 2 out of 3.
What are you standing up for?
yeah.
But the other way around.
Yeah. So by the time I actually got to go to Japan, fortunately a few people already knew me there because I had a lot of Japanese exchange students that had visited London had come to the arcade, played against me and talked about me when they went back to Japan. So when I actually went to Japan, there were already like 5 to 10 media guys waiting for me outside this tournament.
Oh my God.
To talk to me. I didn't speak any Japanese.
Oh my God.
But they wanted to interview me, and it was so nice. Like, I felt so appreciated. I mean, you have to remember, they don't know, but back home I'm completely homeless. I don't really have that many friends. Like, it was a situation where I was in a different world, and I was able to really just let go and kind of, you know, try and be a different person. I wanted to be a bit more lively. I didn't want to just, you know, like just be this dull character on camera. But I wasn't used to being on camera. I wasn't used to talking to people like this. It was a very alien environment for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was like people from Famitsu, people from GameIst,
That's
all
wild.
these different publications that wanted to talk to me. But it was also a bit sad because I'd literally just got creamed in that World Championship first.
Yeah.
And then I've come out and now they want to talk to me and I was like, oh, hi guys, you know, it was a bit weird. But yeah, so that happened. And then the other really cool thing that happened is later that same day, I got invited to an arcade. It was called Playmax in Shinjuku. I don't think it exists anymore. But yeah, Playmax was the arcade for Tekken back then. And it was Tekken 3 in that time. And I got there and they took me upstairs. And upstairs, they had rearranged all the arcades, right? And I was really blown away. I was super, super touched. They had rearranged every cabinet on that floor so that there was like a ring of cabinets on the border and just one Tekken 3 cabinet in the middle of the arcade. And I sat on one side and all the other Japanese players formed a line, like 50, 60 players that had all been playing their casual games with each other before, had all just got up off their cabinets and made a line just to play me in their way of welcoming me to Japan, to the arcade.
Wow.
And they all played me. So whether I won or lost, the other guy would get up, go to the back of the queue, and the next guy would get on. And they just all went to play me. But it was the thing was like, sometimes like I would get completely destroyed and then he has to go back. I can't rematch him, you know. I want to play him again. But it was nice. I think I went fairly even, probably won a little bit more than I lost, because I think some of them were quite new players as well. You could tell like they haven't played that long. But it was such I've never experienced anything like that.
That's extraordinary.
They were like, you know, we've got this guest from the UK, we want to make him welcome.
That's
Let's do this.
extraordinary,
Yeah, so to get back to the original question, I ended up extending my trip because the Japanese champion, his name was Yu Matsui, then King player, he was like the best King player. He said, hey Ryan, man, why don't you try and extend your trip? You know, ring up the airline, see what they can do. And it was Virgin Atlantic, and Namco that had paid for my trip had booked me like an open ticket.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, I was able to extend it, and I ended up staying. It was a weird open ticket. I don't know how much it costed because it was super flexible. You could literally phone up after your flight's gone and say, you know, hey, that flight that went 20 minutes ago, can I rebook it for tomorrow? Like, it was so crazy. And there were multiple times where like my flight had left like 10 minutes ago, and I'd say, oh, can I book it? And a week later, yeah, fine. 1 week, okay, cool. And then in a week, if you didn't want to go, you could change it again.
Wow.
So in the end, I ended up staying for 2 months.
2 months?
2 whole months in Japan. And that
You can
trip,
write this stuff.
that tournament, the Tokyo Game Show, I think it was called Amusement Arcade Show then or something like that. That tournament, it was up on a poster in that Playmax arcade, and that's how I found out about it. It was just on a poster, 25th of September, come down to this tournament, you know. And and so I went, and it was really far.
Is the world tournament?
It was, King of Fighters 98 World Championship.
Wow.
So and then, but the first month in Japan was easily one of the hardest experiences of my life, because in the first month I got so badly beaten on Tekken, on Street Fighter, no, not Street Fighter, Virtua Fighter. Sorry, Virtua Fighter. Yeah, that was. I didn't used to say it, but that was my main game. You know, I was most proud of my VF accomplishments. That was the game. You know, and I thought I was really good. I thought I was the best. You know, I was the champion where I'm from. You know, but they beat me to a pulp, man. I mean, when I went to Japan, I was the Tekken 3 UK champion. I was the Virtua Fighter 3 UK champion. I'd won like 9 tournaments on just VF alone. And I was also the King of Fighters champion as well. So I had 3 games that I was the best at in where I'm from.
Yeah.
But then I've come to Japan, and there are all these amazing players, and you know, their normal players are too good for me.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like I'm playing the champion. Like this is just the average Joe. You know, and he's just creaming me. So it was a massive, massive wake-up call, and it was the hardest one because they were mocking me. You know, I'm the foreigner. They were talking about me. They were you could hear, like, you can tell when there's malice and stuff. And a lot of them, they were just insulting me. They were doing troll combos, like doing like a launch, which is meant to be like a half-bar combo, but then just doing like a jab and letting me land and just playing with their food the whole time. But there were some real moments of like do I just quit games, you know, because I'm not good enough, clearly. If this is what the level's really like, I'm not cut out for this. And there were times on the way home, like almost in tears, taking the last train home because I'd spent all my money for the day, maybe even some for the next day that I'd spent that day, you know, because I had like a budget of what I was supposed to spend, and sometimes just went over the budget because I was really trying to learn how to beat these guys.
Where was the budget coming from?
There's money that I'd saved up. I borrowed a lot of money when I was in Japan because people were just like, hey, like, you know, you're here, just use this. The rate was really good. It was like 240 yen for a pound or some nonsense. It was so good. So there was that. But in general, it didn't matter how much money I had because I was just losing it all anyway. And I feel like in that time, it really made me feel like if you quit now, you're never going to get back into gaming because this has been so much of a shocking experience for you that there would be no foundation for you to join in again on. You wouldn't be able to find it within yourself to get. This has been such a shock. You know, it's just damaged you to the core of your being so deeply, you know, you can't. And yeah, there was a make or break moment, man. I was on the way home. It was the last train, like 12:30. And I was getting on the train back to the place I was staying. One of the players put me up, one of the Soul Calibur guys, let me stay at his place. And yeah, I was literally almost in tears, man. It was so hard to accept this truth. And I said, I'm going to do my best. It was about a month in. So I'm just going to, no, it's about 3 weeks in at that point. Was it even that long? I think it was about 2 weeks, actually. I think I'd only been there 2 weeks, but getting battered every day for hours, you know, like it's too much after a certain amount of time, especially if you're someone who's supposedly, you know, where you're from, you got stature, you know, you're someone. But yeah, when I went there, it was just hardcore. So I decided I'd do my best. I would continue playing. Now, the thing with the Japanese arcade that I went to for VF, it was Sportsland, Shinjuku Sportsland. And the one I went to was across the road from a crab restaurant, so they called it the Crab Sportsland, Kanispo, just so that you could identify which one was which. Yeah. And I used to go to Kanispo, which was the strongest players went to Kanispo, but the strongest players came down later in the day. The earlier in the day it was, the more wins you could get. That was the unwritten rule. If you go there at 12 p.m, you can probably get 10 wins in a row because the players are not that good. The later it gets, the higher the level gets. So by 10 p.m, if you're still playing, you're one of the best. But you won't be playing because you'll have been beaten by that time because they're just too good. On the weekends, it's not really the same. This is like during the day, during the week. Sorry. On the weekends, that system kind of followed suit as well. But I would definitely say that it was more, you know, towards the evenings. I mean, there's literally a time of day, like 6 p.m. on the weekends. You can't beat anybody. There's like 10 cabinets, but they're all too good. You know. So yeah, it was. My test would be how late can I stay on till. You know, and yeah, there were times where I could play till 4 p.m. and then I'd get kicked off. You know, someone would beat me at 4 and at 4. And then the next, like I think like a week later, it was like I lost and it was like 6 p.m. I was, oh wow, a bit later this time. Progress. This is great. But yeah, after about a month and a week of staying in Japan, just playing games every day, I think there was this time where I got like 26 wins in a row. The first time it ever happened where I got 20.
Which game are we talking about?
Virtua Fighter 3, my main game, So the first time that I remember seeing a 2 in front, when I hit 20, I'm like, oh my god, 20 wins in a row. And I got a 26 streak and then I lost. And I was really upset, man, I could have had that if I did a low kick, and I was going over what I messed up on. And I looked at the time and it was 10:10. It was 10:10.
Oh!
Yeah, like late, really late. Like, and I looked around, it's just all top heads. And so yeah, after about a month and a week, only the best players could, you know, take me off. I was never the best or anything, no. But there was definitely a going backwards and forwards with Chibita, Iron Elbow, Jackie, Skeleton. Like, there was definitely that. And that, for me, that was a win, you know. For them, they were just playing someone else that knows how to play the game. But for me, it was a massive win. But that caused some difficulty for me when I went back to the UK. So the journey of stress just continues because there was a bit of a distancing when I went back to the UK because I had been this lamb that was fed to the wolves in Japan. Once I went back to England, I didn't really fit anymore because I had played the game I'd been taught the game to such a level that on VF in the UK, no one was even close anymore. Whereas before, it was like really close games. Even though I won the tournament, I could lose to the good players, you know. On a Friday night at the arcade, we could go even, or they'd win a couple more than I won. You know, it was quite close. But once I came out from Japan, it was 20 win streaks, 30 win streaks, 40. I got 100 wins in a row once on VF in the UK.
Wow.
So
that's insane.
Yeah, and so it was this struggle, but then a new struggle began when I went back to London. 2 years later, I returned to Japan and paid back everyone their money that they'd lent me, because they had really touched my heart with how generous they'd been with me, because they don't know me from Adam. They didn't have to lend me money and stuff. But yeah, they did. So I went back to the UK, I got a job, worked, made some money. I even studied a little bit of Japanese. That's one of my biggest inspirations for learning Japanese, was how nice they were to me when I went to Japan and didn't speak any Japanese. I mean, they would all go to the shop while I'm staying at the house, and they wouldn't say like, "What, do you want something?" Because I probably wouldn't understand the question, right? But they would always bring me something back. They'd all go to the shop, and they'd never forget me. They'd bring back a snack, or if they'd all get ice cream, they'd bring me one too. And they were just so selflessly kind. And I told you how my situation was in London at that time, sleeping on the park bench, in St James's Park, or sitting on the stone seats in Trafalgar Square, looking at Nelson's Column. So nice. Yeah, it wasn't a fun time for me at all. But I had this burst of happiness in Japan where they really helped me out. And the fighting game community is a special place, because someone like me who had nothing in life could find a home in the fighting game community.
That's amazing. Were you staying somewhere in Japan?
I stayed at this guy called Stefan Hwarang. So his name's Stefan, but he uses Hwarang, and stayed at his place. And so I went back and I brought loads of presents for them and had all their money ready. And they were so shocked when they saw me. They were gobsmacked. They never thought they'd see me ever again.
That's hilarious.
And I had all their money, and they were like, "Oh my god!" And they, went for dinner and just had a really fun time. And these guys, some of them still in touch now. Like, we just became friends forever because of this really unique experience. And
how did you learn Japanese?
I lived with Japanese people for a while. I got a job. Initially I just borrowed a textbook from my friend who was he was planning to learn Japanese, but he never got round to it. So at some point, because I'd been to his house multiple times, I said, "Hey, is it alright if I borrow your book for a few days?" And he was like, "Okay." And I just ended up keeping it because he never used it, and I needed it all the time. Had a lot of grammar in there. In Baker Street, there's a place, or there used to be a place called Daiwa House that taught Japanese. They offered free Japanese lessons. It was only to a certain level though, and I went there and did that for a bit. I had friends who taught me bits of Japanese. But eventually, and then I got a Japanese girlfriend at some point as well while into the studies. So lots of things connecting helped me develop Japanese. There isn't one source of how I learned. There's multiple things. But I was quite diligent with it as well. I used to have like a memo pad, and I'd bring it with me everywhere, and if I had a chance to drop some Japanese words, I would. Even if it was nothing to do with what was being discussed, I would throw it in there just to learn about how that works in a sentence, or learn about what other words you can use, and so on. And so even without my knowledge, I was growing in the language. And once suddenly I realized how I can, I was in a meeting demoing a game at Sega, and they had invited this I think it was like the vice president or someone from Sega Japan to come to the meeting. And they were all trying to talk to him, and no one could speak Japanese, and he didn't really understand English. And there was a point they were trying to make about the game, and they were trying to say it in different ways, and he just wasn't getting it. And I turned around, I was just the guy that's meant to shut up. I'm just meant to shut up and play the game, but it was getting so annoying. So I just turned around and said, "Guys, he's just trying to say this to you." And they were like, and they were all shocked. They just all stopped talking. And that was one of the first instances of, can we use you for your Japanese?
Right.
Before that, in my career, Japanese had never been required, but they were like, "Okay, we can use you for this. Can you, And that happened, and then later on, I got the job at Nintendo as a product analyst, and so Japanese.
You were?
Yeah. The first time I lived in Germany was to work for Nintendo at the head office, headquarters.
What's a product analyst?
A product analyst is someone who has to write 3,000 to 5,000 words a day.
About what?
You write about the games. You teach the company about the products of the game. Like people that work at gaming companies are not all gamers.
Yeah.
Some people have come from public relations background. They've come from human resources background. Come from legal. But it's important that they know about the products. So sometimes we'd have to write internal reviews about the games, and also for external sources as well. We'll play the games a lot, and then we'll write, PIBs, they were called, product information briefs, just to teach people about what the games are like, what they're meant to do, and you give them a ranking. There's all kinds of things you have to do in that job. You have to do marketing reviews for if the game should be supported by whoever, there's all kinds of things. There's so many different types of things you have to do in that job. But yeah, essentially you write a lot every day. And there's a lot of playing. It's not just sit there and play games. It's not like a tester. You have to actually look for like bugs and stuff for luck check, but it's more like you have to play the game to work out its pros and cons so you can talk about it. And another thing was Mario Club Europe, where you would have like developers send in their milestone code for a game, and then you had to basically review their game, and then you help them make their game better. Basically, you tell them why it wouldn't be accessible because of the way the controls are, or the HUD's too clunky, you need to reduce it and make it more, make it easier on the eyes, like just all different things. The funny thing with that was when you worked with Japanese developers, you could never tell them specifically what to do. You had to say, this is too difficult. You couldn't say like, it's too hard because this and that happens when you do this. You had to just keep it very vague with the Japanese. But with the European publishers, you have to be specific. Why is it too difficult? What's too difficult? You have to be very specific. It's almost like the Japanese felt insulted if you went too deep. Like you think they wouldn't work that out by themselves. But then in Europe, it was the opposite. So that was always interesting, working with them.
Yeah, I understand a little bit of what you're talking about. When I was working in advertising, you creatives didn't want, because a lot of creativity, right, often had an element of problem solving. So you would look at something and go, okay, this isn't working, and I know why it's not working, and if you just did this, it'd be fucking perfect.
Right.
But you could only tell them what wasn't working. If you told them just do this, they'd be like, nah, no chance, because that's yours now. Like, no thanks, I'm not doing it. And then they do something completely different. And so you had to figure out a way of coaxing them into either coaxing them into thinking it was their idea, or just give them the problem and be like, just go away.
So sometimes, if you were lucky, they did what you would have told them to do, but more times than not, they didn't. But it's what it is.
The people who were pretty good at it would do a little coaxing, and it was almost like a little dance where both parties knew what was going on. It was just they both wanted to say, like, you were saving the face of the creative person. So it was like the creative person would be like, I had this brilliant idea, and you'd be like, that is a brilliant
You're amazing.
idea.
It's true. Just stroke the fur a little bit. It is.
I mean, that's business, man.
Yeah,
that's
a lot of that.
That's interesting, particularly the difference between the different regions. Wow, you've done a lot. So that's pretty wild. But I'm still a little bit confused about when the KOF contest happened.
It was
because you stayed for 2 months. When you were supposed to stay for 3 days. You stayed for 2 months, but it sounds like you played Virtua Fighter.
All through that 2 months I played Virtua Fighter. I mean, I played because
when did you play the KOF tournament?
The KOF tournament was in Kokusai Tenjijo Seimon. It's like where SBO happens and all those big events in those massive places.
Was that at the same time?
Yeah.
So you were getting your ass, because the reason that I'm asking is because the story you're talking about is like this one of basically getting your ass handed to you in these games that you care about, and then you went off and won a world championship in King of Fighters.
When I won the World Championship, it was when things were starting to get a bit better.
Yeah.
I don't think it was quite peak yet, but I was off the back foot period where I was just losing every day.
Okay.
Because I just think mentally,
So were you playing King of Fighters at the same time?
I was playing King of Fighters at the same time.
Oh, you were?
King of Fighters was also in the same arcade as VF was. Tekken wasn't, though. For Tekken, I had to go to an entirely different place.
Gotcha.
Which was about 10-15 minutes walk.
Right.
So it was in the same area.
Yeah.
But yeah, Tekken, and the Tekken place, it was only Tekken there.
Okay.
And if you played Soul Calibur, they had that, but I didn't play Soul Calibur then. So it was just, if I'm going there, I'm only going to play Tekken.
Okay.
But yeah, because VF became such a hurdle, I spent more time at the VF arcade, which meant I just automatically played more KOF as well. The real KOF arcade was in a place called Ikebukuro, which is a few stops on the tube, on the Yamanote line from Shinjuku, right? So, I would go there on some days, but they didn't have many good VF players. Actually, no, they did. It just wasn't as good as Sportsland.
Okay.
So no, they actually did have.
What a wild 2 months.
So yeah,
just pure gaming.
Yeah, that was all I wanted to do. That was all I wanted to do.
But
that was all that was important at that time.
I still don't I was always and always have been quite a logical person. Like I'm very like. So where's this all going?
I wasn't there yet. I think at 18, 19, I wasn't at the, but where's this going? It was just, I was just very passionate and very competitive.
But at that time, because I remember...
I think by the time I'd won, because I'd already won, I'd won 9 DF tournaments. I got a trophy for each one.
Okay.
I already had more than 10 trophies.
The UK tournaments were really fueling...
Yeah,
that makes sense.
I tasted success.
Yeah.
I know I'm good at this somehow.
Okay.
I just need, and there was always, in the back of my mind, it was like, maybe I just need to figure out, because I've lost in the past. There's tournaments where I've lost, I didn't win every tournament. I'd won a lot of tournaments, but I had also lost some tournaments. So I knew the taste of losing and then winning. Yeah. So this was just another situation where I'm going to work it out. Eventually I'm going to understand. I'm going to beat these guys. So although I was pushed to the brink of literal, Ryan Hart extinction or whatever, I was always thinking... You had a bit of an emotional moment. Yeah, I was always thinking, but there's an answer here.
Okay.
There's definitely an answer here.
There's always an answer.
And, downstairs, the guys were talking about my longevity in the FGC, and I think one thing that's fueled that is that period in Japan where I got battered so badly but came back from it. Nothing I experienced after that could ever scare me or make me think, I can't win, because that was the worst. Yeah, it can't. Nothing in the FGC could ever be worse than that. Nothing. Yeah. Not even close. So that's one of the things that's always helped me to persevere and generate results from that perseverance. Okay,
so let's skip forward a little bit, because that was late 90s, right?
That was late 90s.
Middle late 90s, late 90s. And it's funny actually, because I was at university at UCL 94 to 97. So
a lot of pub evenings.
I was focused on the pub, but I did visit Trocadero and the Goose Street Arcade every now and then.
Okay.
But whatever. So I remember those environments. I just don't remember the Wonderland place you're talking about, which was opposite
Namco Wonder Park. Yeah, it was on Great Rumble Street.
I don't remember it.
Oh, it had a globe outside. It had a globe rotating outside the.
That makes
outside the arcade.
Yeah,
it had a robot, a talking robot in the window that used to say, "Come on down, step right inside."
I maybe did go in there. It's a long time ago. I can't remember.
You've definitely been there, because it was. I don't know. It was the place you just kind of ended up going into after you've been to Trocadero. You just ended up there somehow.
Fair enough. So, yeah. All right, so it's very interesting life. Particularly to be homeless in England, I can't even imagine, because it's not like this is warm. Like it's warm in New York right now, but in England, even the summers are pretty cold at night.
It was quite peaceful actually. I never really got into that much trouble. People kind of left me alone. It just got difficult socially because
you didn't want to talk about it.
Because what do you do? I'm doing this. It's just I think inside I didn't want to be this person that has to be quiet, because I used to be really quiet at the arcades. But because I was super dominant, people used to think that was like an arrogance thing. He thinks he's better than us. He's not talking to us. I was just petrified of the scenario, because there had been situations that were really awkward. We're going for food now. Do you want to come? And I really want to go, but that's my last money, and I can't. I don't want to ask anyone. I don't want them to know my situation. So but saying no looks like I think I'm too good for So I faced a lot of that no one knew about.
It's the end of the bloody video. Thank you again to R Street Fighter and all of my supporters who nominated, voted and contributed to send me, and also Just Power Marine to Evo. I want to thank my patrons who are on screen now, particularly my biggest backers, Nathan Duncan, Terrence Harris, You Ain't Jeff and Steven Sense. New patrons are in green. Welcome. Thank you. You're making a difference. Twitch subs, you make a difference. Of course, you get shout outs on stream. Follow me on Twitch, people. The link is down below. Put the notifications on. I'm on pretty much every day at the moment, but it's a loose schedule because of my editing currently. Look out for the rest of my interviews from Evo. If you're new to the channel, check out some of my classic interviews and skits. There's a lot in there. Particularly if you're a player and you want to understand a new player or a player coming up, you want to understand the mindset of some of the top players, check it out. Until next time, see ya. Oh, and subscribe! Subscribe!